Welcome to Podcast Monday, where you start your week off right with a deep dive on a chameleon topic. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and maybe pretend to work. Today we're going to be talking about chameleons as pets, and I did this topic with a mind for both the beginner and the experienced keeper. This is a podcast, so it's meant to be listened to. Though as per usual, you will have a video background while the podcast goes, and today it's going to be of a baby panther chameleon just hanging out and doing his thing. And yes, it is a video, and yes, that is how slowly they move on a regular basis. But I did put in a little cup of bean beetles, so you're probably going to see some tongue zapping going on. So put on your headphones, sit back, and relax for this week's episode of the Chameleon Academy podcast. Good morning, Chameleon Academy. This is your host, Bill Strand. Today we're going to go back to the beginning and ask one of the most important questions in this entire journey. What kind of pet is a chameleon? If you're new and you're wondering whether a chameleon is the right fit for you, this episode will help you with that answer. I'll walk you through what it really means to bring one of these incredible animals into your life, the excitement, the challenges, and the quiet rewards. But this isn't just a beginner's conversation. For those of you who've been on this path for a while, the ones who have lived with chameleons long enough to forget what your first impressions even were, I invite you to listen through the first part as a reset. Sometimes, the best way to appreciate how far we've come is to return to the question that started it all. Because in the second half of this episode, we'll look at how the answer changes. Once you've gotten past light schedules and supplement rotations, once you've quieted down enough to just live alongside your chameleon. What kind of pet is a chameleon then? That's when we start to see how this relationship changes us. And for the beginner, wondering what kind of pet a chameleon makes, the second half will give you a glimpse into an incredible world beyond just keeping a lizard that you didn't realize you might be stepping into. So, whether you're just starting or you've already walked this road a while, this is a question worth asking again. Chameleons are fascinating animals, and it's no surprise that people are drawn to them. Their colors, their movement, and their alien appearance make them seem almost magical. For many, the first introduction to a chameleon might be through a movie or cartoon where the chameleon rides on their shoulder and provides comic relief. It's easy to imagine they'd make a charming, quirky companion. But real chameleons are very different from what most people think of when they hear the word pet. They're not social animals, and they do not seek out or enjoy physical interaction. And yes, this is the part where everyone says, "Sheesh, Bill, way to be a downer." But alas, that is my job, so I'm just going to get this out of the way. Unlike dogs or cats, chameleons do not want to be handled. They're solitary by nature, and much of their behavior is focused on establishing personal space, staying hidden, or watching from a safe distance. That doesn't mean they aren't rewarding to keep. It just means that the kind of reward is different from what most people are used to. Chameleons are more animals you watch than interact with physically. The joy in keeping a chameleon comes from observing their natural behaviors, how they move, how they hunt, how they position themselves in their environment. It's like having a living piece of natural art in your care. Because of their specific husbandry needs, chameleons are often considered advanced pets. They require a carefully constructed arboreal environment with heat, humidity, ventilation, lighting, hydration. All of it needs to be applied deliberately. Now, luckily, all that information is readily available. You do have to sort through the surprising amount of garbage on the web, but if you know about ChameleonAcademy.com, you have all the information you need. So it's all there for you. You just have to spend some research time absorbing the how-tos. In short, a chameleon is not the kind of pet that adapts to your lifestyle. You'll need to adapt your lifestyle to meet theirs. If you're looking for a pet that you can interact with regularly or carry around the house, this won't be a good fit. But if you're interested in creating a slice of nature in your home and learning how to support a creature with specific needs, then a chameleon can be a very rewarding pet to keep. In this episode, I want to focus in on what chameleons are and what space they will inhabit in your life. That way, your expectations align with what they are, and you aren't disappointed by what they can or can't offer. Let's start with the basics. Chameleons are arboreal lizards, which means they live in trees. While they can walk on the ground, they're much more vulnerable there. They don't have many physical defenses, no claws for slashing, no venom, no armor. Their primary defense is to remain unseen. Chameleons do not spend their lives scared and hiding, but knowing that they can hide if they feel the need is a core requirement for them to feel safe. And this behavior carries over into captivity. A chameleon that stays in its cage or hides in the plants is not being unfriendly. It's doing exactly what it's wired to do. Your job as a keeper is to create an environment where they feel secure. That means giving them dense plant cover to hide in and respecting their need for personal space. Over time, your chameleon may become comfortable enough with you that it no longer hides. But in the beginning, hiding is a sign of a healthy, functional animal doing what it evolved to do. As they get more and more comfortable with their surroundings, they will hide less and less. But your job is going to be providing them everything they may need, and the ability to hide is a non-negotiable requirement. So, what do chameleons think of humans? This is an important question, and the answer is, they really don't know what to think of us. Chameleons have no evolutionary context for a giant creature that wants to be near them, doesn't try to eat them, and keeps giving them food. There's no equivalent to that in the wild. In a chameleon's world, nothing like a pet relationship exists. So when a chameleon experiences us, it has to sort us into whatever mental categories it does have. Are we a predator? Are we a threat? Are we just a weirdly mobile tree branch? Are we food providers? Or are we some strange combination of all these things? Chameleons are left to figure that out on their own, and they'll respond based on what makes sense in their brain. That means some will show fear, others indifference, and a few might even act curious or seemingly outgoing. But be careful not to overinterpret what you see. A lot of what looks like friendliness could be a chameleon, tolerating your presence, not enjoying it. Chameleons don't understand affection the way mammals or birds do. They are solitary by nature. In the wild, they don't form social bonds. Not with mates, not with siblings, and definitely not with their parents. So the behaviors we associate with pets, like cuddling, seeking attention, or enjoying being held, don't translate here. Chameleons don't come pre-programmed to want companionship. And it's not that they're unfriendly, it's just that their brains were never built for that kind of social interaction. And let me give you a real-life example. Say a chameleon falls asleep in your hand. That's cute, right? A dog falls asleep leaning on you, and it means they trust you. Unfortunately, when a chameleon does that, it usually means they've given up. It's a shutdown response, not a gesture of comfort. For a chameleon, that moment is not, I feel safe with you. It's, I don't have the energy to keep fighting, so I'll just wait for the end. That's how different our worlds are. So when we bring a chameleon into our lives, we have to learn a whole new language, because they're not going to learn ours. Now, I want to take a little sidebar, because this is a critical concept, and I don't want to gloss over it. People want, and even expect, their chameleons to love them. And I get it. The most powerful force in a human's life is love. We're social creatures. We write movies about love. We risk our lives for it. It's central to our survival. Our ability to form deep emotional bonds with others, family, friends, romantic partners, that's what kept us alive and functioning as a species. And because love is so central to our lives, we project that expectation onto our pets. It works with dogs, cats, and even birds because they have those same social structures. When a dog joins our family, it's not that we create the bond from scratch, it's that we're stepping into a category their brain already understands. We become a stand-in for their pack members. They already have a love category, and we fill it. But here's the hard truth. Chameleons don't have that category. They don't even have the biological hardware for it. They don't form family groups. The mother lays her eggs and is gone. The babies hatch months later, scatter, and live alone. They don't recognize their siblings, and if they do cross paths, they'll likely be competing for territory or resources. Even mating is brief and functional. Males may stick around the female, but they're guarding the female from other suitors. Not out of affection, it's about reproductive success. Once that window closes, they part ways. No bonds are formed. No one sticks around. That's not cruelty, it's just not part of their world. They do things differently, and it works for them. So when your chameleon in its lizard brain is trying to figure out what you are, parent, friend, or loving caretaker aren't options on the table. Their brain doesn't work that way. And once again, that's not a flaw. That's part of the beauty of what they are. Though that doesn't stop us from, even unintentionally, projecting our emotions on them. We do them a disservice when we misinterpret their survival behaviors as emotional affection. It blinds us to the real, subtle, and fascinating ways they do interact with the world. If you're looking for a pet that will enjoy being held, that will come to you for cuddles, or that will develop a bond of love in a way you understand it, a chameleon is not the right choice. It's not something you can train into them. It's not something they'll grow into. And pushing them toward that kind of relationship usually ends in stress for them and you. This might all sound a bit discouraging at first, but the joy of keeping chameleons comes from a different kind of relationship. You're not looking for a companion, you're building an environment. The pleasure is in the setup. It's in creating a living slice of forest and watching a creature move through it on its own terms. Many chameleons will eventually take food from your hand. Some may even come to the front of the cage when they see you. But the key to a satisfying relationship with a chameleon is to come into it with no expectations for interaction. If you expect nothing, you'll find joy in the small things that do happen. If you expect affection, you're likely to be disappointed. Personally, I enjoy watching my chameleons simply be themselves. I check in on them each day, see what they're doing, and appreciate the quiet presence they bring to my space. That's more than enough. Now, some people like to believe they have an extra special connection with animals, that they're a natural or that animals are drawn to them. This belief can tend towards dangerous when applied on a chameleon's passive nature. Chameleons don't lash out in ways that scare us enough to make us stop whatever we're doing. Although I'm sure a number of veiled chameleon keepers right now are saying that I've never met their chameleon. You mean the one nicknamed Satan? Yeah, there are some that communicate just fine, but many chameleons, and Jackson's chameleon keepers know this well, will just shut down when overwhelmed by all their attempts at escaping failing. You know that fun, endless treadmill of them crawling hand over hand and never getting anywhere? We think it's cute, but it is communicating to the chameleon that they can never escape what is causing them fear. They are not having a fun time, and they finally stop trying to escape because it is hopeless. It's easy for us, who are specifically looking for relationship signs, to misinterpret this stillness as calm or trust. A chameleon giving up escaping and resigning itself to its fate is a survival behavior, not a relationship milestone. You have broken them. They may not be able to love, but they will develop a relationship with you that includes trust and whether they feel secure. Breaking them is a relationship of control, not a relationship of trust. Are you a force that must be feared, or are you a force that nurtures? If you want to have a healthy relationship with your chameleon, you must approach them on their terms, not yours. You have to create a space that they want to be in of their own free will. Now, there may be some confusion out there. I've been talking about how they can't feel love like we do, but I keep using the relationship word. You definitely have a relationship with your chameleon. They not feeling pack or family type love doesn't mean there isn't a relationship. It just means it's different. Chameleons can learn. They can recognize you. They can associate you with negative things like fear or positive things like food. Over time, they can grow to trust you, but that trust will always be based on your consistency, your respect for their space, and the absence of threatening behavior. Just because they do not have the ability to love like us doesn't mean the rest of healthy relationship building tools don't work. Don't bend them to your will. Learn about their world from them. Earn that trust and show them that you mean good things. Come to them on their own terms. And just as a bonus note, Chameleons are excellent visual learners. They can recognize the difference between you and someone else. If they're comfortable around you, they may still retreat when someone new enters the room. They also notice small details. Hats, glasses, and even certain colors of clothing can cause hesitation or confusion. If you come in wearing a red shirt and they suddenly act like they've never seen you before, that's just how their brain processes things. Every chameleon has its own quirks. So, now that we have a better idea of what a chameleon is, let's ask, how will a chameleon fit into the life I already live? Good question. Chameleons aren't just a set-up-and-forget pet. The daily care they need isn't great, but they will have to be part of your daily schedule. They won't emotionally miss you when you are gone, but maintaining an environment does require daily check-ins. Much of their care can be automated with misting systems, light timers, and foggers, but the human presence needs to make sure the automation is working properly. A typical daily care routine might be 1. Make sure your water reservoirs for the mister and fogger are filled. 2. Look for poop to spot clean, meaning pick it up with a paper towel. 3. Check to make sure the water drainage tray does not need to be emptied. 4. Feed the chameleon. 5. Feed the feeder insects. And yes, you will now be dealing with deliberately keeping insects in your home. Not only keeping them, but feeding them nutritious meals. Chameleons need live and well-fed insects. Chameleons are relatively clean pets. They don't make noise and they don't smell. In fact, if you don't tell guests you have a chameleon, they will think that you enjoy keeping your plants in enclosures. I once had a nosy neighbor that I did not trust who looked over the wall and asked what I had so many cages for. I told him it protected my passion fruit vines from the birds stealing the fruit, and there was nothing to say any different. How about time? As I mentioned, chameleons will not miss you when you are gone, so you can go to work and not feel guilty about leaving your chameleon at home alone. They'll enjoy that time to recover from the emotional exhaustion of having to deal with you looking in on them before you left from work. Just kidding, it isn't that bad. Give them a favorite treat worm as you leave, and they'll have good thoughts about you all day. You can still take weekend getaway trips, especially if you use the basic automation tools for the misting, fogging, and lights. There's no problem with your adult chameleon going a couple of days without food. Juveniles are another matter as they need lots of food daily to grow, but that stage doesn't last long. The most common species of chameleons become adults in less than a year. Longer travel, say more than 3 days, starts to require a pet sitter that deals with reptiles. That can be tricky to find, but this can be a trusted friend, neighbor, or family member. They would have to drop in at least every 3rd day to clean, refill water, and feed. Chameleons don't need affection or playtime, but they do need daily systems to run smoothly. That means misting, lights on and off, and ideally someone checking to make sure nothing has gone wrong. What could go wrong? Well, anything. Just like everything else in the world. Technology is wonderful until we assume it works flawlessly all the time. One nice thing about technology is now we have sensors that monitor the environmental conditions remotely, so we can check in from any place that provides internet, and we know if we need to send that trusted family friend or pet sitter over in an emergency. Chameleons aren't show-and-tell animals. They don't like being passed around. They don't want to sit on your friend's hand while you explain how cool their color change is. That said, it isn't a problem to come out and walk on your friend's hand as an introduction. Whether they like it or not, a little bit of handling is not going to harm them. You can take them out and you can take them to the vet, but do not take them to the park or shopping with you. Yes, it gets you attention, but no, this is not good for the chameleon. If you're the kind of person who loves bringing your pet into social situations or along with you into public areas, a chameleon is not a good fit. But if you're someone who enjoys time for quiet hobbies, slow observation, and structured routines, a chameleon might feel like the perfect addition to your life. Providing for their needs will encourage you to learn more about nature. A chameleon isn't a demanding pet in the traditional sense. They don't need to be walked, groomed, or entertained. But they do need a controlled environment, and they rely on you to keep that environment running, even when life gets unpredictable. Okay, so at this point, you now have a bit clearer picture of what kind of pet a chameleon really is. And if you're just starting out, I hope this gave you a realistic foundation to build on, one that respects the chameleon for what it is, not what we wish it would be. But now let's shift perspectives, because what happens after that? What happens when you've lived with a chameleon for years, when the basics have become second nature, when you've stopped thinking about them as exotic pets and started seeing them as something much more? And that's where we're headed next. This is the part for those of you who have stuck around, the long-time keepers, the ones who have walked the path long enough to be changed by it. Let's talk about where this road leads and what kind of keeper you might become if you stay with it. Let's step forward a few years. I'll give you a glimpse as to what you might find happening as a chameleon keeper. For some of us, keeping chameleons becomes transformational. Somewhere along the way, keeping chameleons goes from having a pet lizard to a chameleon being an introduction to a much bigger world. When you start learning about their environmental requirements, you can't help but slide into learning about weather patterns and how the seasons are different the closer you get to the equator. You now know where Madagascar is on the map. And strangely enough, you start to feel a longing to see these other lands yourself. Here at the Chameleon Academy, we're gearing up for our second annual trip to Madagascar that is open to anyone who has the desire for a slice of adventure and to meet these chameleons in the wild. We have just recently done a fundraiser that works to eradicate an invasive plant that is killing baby chameleons in the Ranamafana area. And yes, we now know about the Ranamafana area in Madagascar, and we know about the effects of global warming and the environmental destruction. Because of our chameleon, our world got much larger. Not only in the macro sense, but also in the micro sense. At the Chameleon Academy, you'll also find a course on how to do your own checks for chameleon parasites. We're learning about the world all around us that is too small for us to see without a microscope. The complexity of microscopic life cycles and battles among the cells are as engaging as any science fiction movie. The difference is that this is all really happening, from parasites taking over behaviors to get their hosts to sacrifice themselves so the parasite can get to their next life stage, to trematodes turning snails into crawling trematode factories that literally defend against invaders. We find the world under the microscope as fascinating as our own. We have learned woodworking, gardening, and have gone from thinking insects were creepy to, well, now? Are we really keeping insects as pets? I know that may sound like a stretch, but to that I offer a story from my life. My wife Yvette has always been supportive of me and my chameleon passion, but it hasn't always been an easy time. My wanting to keep a colony of non-invasive roaches to feed my chameleons was hard enough for her to accept. At least they can't reproduce in our environment or home if they got out, and they can't climb walls. But when I brought up that I'd like to try green banana roaches, that was a different story. Sure, they could never reproduce in our environment, check that box, but they could climb plastic or glass walls. She isn't liking this part. But they are very cool green color, she grudgingly admits this, and then she asks what I am not telling her, because she knows me so well and knows when there is more to the story. Well, they fly. Fly? Oh, that did not go over well at all. That night, she literally had a dream of being swarmed by flying roaches, so I realized this may not be in my future, but in time, she relented. As long as they were not around her. Fast forward a number of years, and this woman who had a mild interest in reptiles because of her husband's hobby has today become a world-class breeder of the Eurypletus fantasticus satanic leaf-tailed gecko, and one day marched into my room and informed me that she wanted to take over the green banana roaches. She literally moved them into her room to be hers. Now, of course, I can visit them anytime I want, and I happily make food dishes for them, but Yvette, who many years ago just thought chameleons were cute, has now discovered a path of her own, established herself in a community, and has branched off into areas she never dreamed of. Yes, there was that one dream so long ago, but if they are swarming now, they are doing so at the bidding of their gecko queen. So, oh, how the tables have turned. And just for the record, when green banana roaches fly, they don't zip around like a nightmare. They flutter in a very cute way. When they fly, they look like a little green fairy fluttering around. It's a precious thing, so it's hard to be scared of them in real life. An interest in chameleons has sent me to the other ends of the earth to learn about the world. It has taken me into the microscopic universe and opened my eyes to what is all around me. I have learned about myself and how my body works because chameleons synthesize vitamin D3 the same way. Infections work the same way. And although there are executional differences, our internal organs have the same functions. Chameleons have inspired me to learn podcasting and social media. I have published my first book and I'm working on the second. I learned video production and editing to go along with my love for chameleons. I even started a side business manufacturing enclosures that were specifically designed for chameleons. All because I was fascinated by this incredible creature. Now, not everybody takes it this far, but different people come with me every year to Madagascar. More people are coming to my live sessions on YouTube every week to hang out together. We are finding a supportive community tied together by our love for chameleons. Chameleons don't offer the kind of connection we're used to. They don't return affection or seek out attention, but they do something else. They teach you how to observe, how to tune yourself to subtlety. And if you just go with it, they can slowly reshape the way you see the world. Now, if you are here just wondering if you should get a chameleon, you probably weren't signing up for a complete worldview change that included far-off lands and warring microscopic parasites. And that is okay. It's important to have realistic views as to what chameleons are, but you don't have to have a complete makeover to your life. It is fine enjoying just having a very cool pet that you care for. So don't let my stories sound like you have to consider raising green flutter fairy roaches. You can keep a chameleon and still be that respectable member of society. And you can hang out here and listen to stories of what we chameleon adventurers are doing and be full-fledged valued members of the community. We all come with different backgrounds and different futures. And that works perfectly. That's what this podcast is all about. That's what the Tiny Dragons book is all about. That is what this entire outreach is about. I'm glad you're here because the momentum that produces this outreach is fueled by the community. We work on inspiring each other. If you're looking for more community, join us for any of our 2 weekly live sessions on YouTube at 5 p.m. Pacific on Tuesday nights and 12 noon Pacific on Saturdays. We also started hanging out on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific, but that's just to hold me accountable for making feeder trays for what is now my wife's green banana roaches. No big show, just us doing chameleon chores and getting ready for the new week together. You are welcome to drop by. Well, I guess there's no more procrastinating for me. Time to go back into that crazy and wonderful world. But wherever you are on the journey, learn, understand, and pass it on. And, be excellent to each other. This is Bill Strand signing off. I'll see you next time.